expressed concerns about the proposals about that proposal are farmers in the lower Arkansas Valley.
Jack Goebel, and on deck, Dr. Michael Batalo. Good evening, welcome. It is evening.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, my name is Jack Goebel, and I speak to you today on behalf of your neighbors in the lower Arkansas Valley who are directly impacted by decisions like the one you will make today. Including reuse, about 70% of Colorado Springs' water supply comes from the drying Colorado River Basin, and there's no guarantee how that diminished water supply will be split between 7 states and Mexico going forward. The Western Slope has said not one more drop to eastern Colorado cities looking to transfer more water. The San Luis Valley counties have all banded together to stop a large water export to Douglas County, and the northern Front Range cities have laid claim to any available South Platte Basin river water. Colorado Springs has only one option for more water, and that is from farms in the lower Arkansas Valley. And Colorado Springs is actively buying water in my neighborhood there as we speak. This is happening to allow for future developments like the one you are considering today. With each new development that this council approves, more precious farmland is lost. You might ask, why does this matter to me? And I would ask you, do you care about the rural communities and the culture that will be lost? Crowley County's farming economy was replaced by prisons. Most of that water was used to grow food there for generations and now is used in Colorado Springs. Do you care about the wildlife that depend on these irrigated fields for habitat or the open spaces? And most importantly, do you value food security? That may sound dramatic, but the reality is that farmland is being dried up all around us in large numbers. We're seeing dairies moving from Kansas into southeastern Colorado because the Ogallala aquifer that they depend on is being depleted to the point where scientists estimate that it will be completely diminished in 50 years. When it disappears, so will $20 billion worth of food and fiber. Farms are also being dried up in the Republican River Basin in northeastern Colorado and in the San Luis Valley in south central Colorado due to compact issues. And like I said, the northern Front Range cities are gobbling up all the ag water they can in the South Platte. At some point, food security will have to become a priority. All stable societies have one thing in common: a safe, affordable, and abundant food supply. Even though we've lost tens of thousands of acres of farmland in southeastern Colorado, we're fortunate to still have some of the most productive farmland with a renewable water supply. And we should protect this farmland and those willing to grow our food as if our existence depends on it. Because if we can continue on this current trajectory, our grandchildren won't have that choice. I have no doubt that the Amara development will be a very nice community, and so will the next one and the one after that. There's an old saying that says, when you stop growing, you start dying. This may be in the back of your minds as you consider annexations now and in the future, but it is and has been the reality of farming in our farming communities in the lower valley for generations. Let us continue to grow food so we can coexist and our rural communities won't die. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Michael Bartolo. If I said that wrong, I apologize. Good evening, sir.
Bartolo, thank you very much for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. I'm going to shoot from the hip today. My name is Mike Bartolo. I live in Rocky Ford, Colorado. My family has been farming in that area for over 100 years. And I spent 32 years of my career working as an agricultural research scientist doing work with ag water use and water quality. You hear a lot about, the benefits of these developments. I'm going to tell you about some of the costs of it. As a resident of the Arkansas Valley, I get to see those costs every single day. I see the cost of the 50,000 acres that Colorado Springs decimated in Crowley County. And it costs about $3,000 to $4,000 an acre just to stabilize the soil. That's an outstanding bill of $150 to $200 million that's never been called due for the city. I think of this particular development, it's going to take about 5,000 acres out of production, 5,000 acres of productive farm ground. That means $16 million annually in economic impact to our small communities every year. Now, for those of you who are saying, hey, we got plenty of water in our water supply, it's not going to hurt those things, I strongly disagree. That wasn't the case. Utilities wouldn't be down in Bend County drying up even more farms. I want to be honest with you. You ran out of your moral water supply decades ago. That's the honest truth. I also think about water quality. You know, we were able to farm some wonderful produce for a lot of years down there. Now I shudder every time it rains in Colorado Springs. All the stormwater effluent, which is just inundated with E. coli, and that's been done and validated with many studies done with Colorado Springs Utilities and the USGS. It's getting to the point where our water that we rely on for generations is no longer usable. And when we don't have your stormwater effluent, we've got almost entirely composed of your sewage disposal system. That's what our water is made of. And what's maybe even worse is what I call the generational cost. And I don't know if any of you understand this because you're not in a farming industry. You know, we're not a bunch of real estate developers. This is an investment for, we've invested generations of our family. Our families have laid their lives down, blood, sweat, and tears in that valley. And that's why I get so emotional. It's hard for me to understand why and when you add those things all together, why would any community with even a semblance of decency do that to another community? That's the way it's been, and that's the reality of what we face. You know, I'm not such an idealist to believe that, you know, we're not going to have water issues. But I do believe that we have to work cooperatively as a regional entity. We have to come up with these solutions. We're going to have a lot of issues to deal with. We don't know about the disruptions in water supply. We're certainly going to have a lot to dish out when it calls the water quality issue. How you vote here today will speak volumes about your responsibility as the biggest city in the basin. Do you assume that responsible and moral position of your responsibility to the rest of the basin, or you do just the status quo of what's been done in the past? We have a possibility to move forward, and your vote today will speak volumes to that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. On deck, Matt Heinrich. Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you, guys.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Ryan Hemphill. I live in McClave, Colorado. That's about 100 miles east of Pueblo. And I just want to tell you guys, you have such a hard job. I've been sitting here all afternoon, and I just watch person after person come up here, and they stand at this podium or they call in, and they tell you how to do your job. And at the end of the day, you guys have to make a vote. You have to decide, and you know that you're going to make some people happy, and you're going to make some people really mad. And if you make enough people mad, you don't have a job anymore. And you know, I've bless your hearts. It's a hard job, and I'm glad that I don't have to do it. But now you get to listen to a person that doesn't live in your city, doesn't live in your district, doesn't even live in your county, that lives somewhere else in the state, come up here and tell you how to do your job. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm a fourth generation farmer, and my family has been farming the same ground for about 100 years. And the commonality that we have between us is that we share the same water supply, and that's the Arkansas River. And it's an inconsistent water supply. But let me tell you a little bit about my farm. Our farm is about 1,500 acres, and we rely on the Arkansas River for our irrigation water supply. And the main crop that we grow is beef. We grow a lot of crops in our field, but ultimately we supply beef to people. And our average size farm contributes enough protein to feed about 600 people every single day that we're in existence. 600 people a day is what we feed. That's an average size farm that relies on the Arkansas River for that, to be able to grow that product. And 70% of the people in this nation eat beef. Not everybody does, and that's fine. But the Arkansas Valley also grows a lot of other crops. It feeds a lot of people. The Arkansas Valley grows onions, peppers, sweet corn, potatoes, beans, pork, dairy products, tomatoes, and melons. And the reason that this is important is because this proposed development would essentially dry up 4 of my farms. That means that it would eliminate the ability to feed 2,400 people a day a protein source, a lean protein source. And I know that economic growth is always considered to be a good thing. It brings jobs and it brings a tax base, but there's always a trade-off. And in this case, that trade-off isn't just the economy of the Arkansas Valley, it's our ability to grow food into the future. So I would like you guys to just please consider, just consider the consequences of voting on this, and I urge you to vote no until water supplies are shored up. Thank you.
Mr. Heinrich, and then Mike Rowe on deck. Good evening, sir.
Thank you, President Helms. So my name is Matt Heinrich. We've farmed in Crowley County since 1950. The gentleman was speaking about the military. Let me tell you that my father-in-law, Orville Tomke, at 19 years old, got drafted out of Brush High School, went to Camp Hale, trained with the 10th Mountain Division, risked his life and limb for this nation fighting the Nazis in Italy, and found God in a foxhole being bombed by 88 millimeter shells. Okay, so we know a little bit about military in the lower Arkansas Valley. You wouldn't believe how many veterans are in our rural communities. But I'm not here to talk to you about that. I'm here to talk to you about, because I've met many of you, we're probably one of the only farming operations left in that county. We have about 1,500 acres of leased and fee ground. It is becoming increasingly difficult to run that system based on what we have to work with. What you're talking about here is simply what I would call piling on. How much more does the Arkansas Valley, how much more can it give to you folks? How much more can we sell? Take a look, feel about what Michael's talking about. We are generational businesses. We just don't all of a sudden decide to wake up and farm someday. The Arkansas River is a fickle and unappropriated river. We've already talked about how the Colorado is not a place you're going to go for any more water. You have to come to our valley. And I'm here to tell you about the testimony today about what dry up has done to my home, about what I deal with every day. The abandoned fields, the blowing dirt, the insects, the prairie dogs, the reputation that Crowley County has. We sold our water, we sold our livelihood down the drain. Is that how you want your neighbors to be treated? A few weeks ago, you voted to support the Southeast District in its fight against the city of Aurora to purchase a 5,000-acre farm in Otero County. Good for you. You know what this vote feels like today? This vote feels like a betrayal to me. It feels like you're taking the bus and you're backing it up and you're going to run it over me one more time. That's what it feels like. So I'm going to encourage you to take a hard look about what you think your city means to the rest of the valley. When you sneeze, we get a cough. No, we get pneumonia down there. So you have a responsibility bigger and greater than just yourselves. And I hope you take that into consideration and vote this annexation down overwhelmingly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, though. Up next online, Dallas May. Dallas May, I see you're online. If you would introduce yourself, Dallas, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Honorary council members, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak and thank you for your service. My name is Dallas May. I farm and ranch north of Lamar. As all of you, I serve on many boards, commissions, and committees because we are all deeply concerned about maintaining the quality of life that is quickly being eroded. Colorado and the water that is its lifeblood has an intrinsic value on our environment. As we are all aware, there is increasing division between rural and urban Colorado. We should all be concerned about the future and the structure of rural communities, which includes strong, vibrant school systems, businesses, hospitals, and services for families in underserved parts of the state. For many years, there's been a focus on the extraction of resources out of rural communities, destroying the fabric and the quality of life for families who work to provide a safe and reliable, affordable supply of food for all of us. In the last 3 years, the United States has become a net importer of food. When you walk into a grocery store, do you actually think about the amount of water that it took to put all of those products on the shelves? We should think about what would happen in 1 foreseeable instance that those shelves would no longer be stocked with fresh, safe, affordable produce. All of these scenarios are playing out in real time in the Arkansas Valley. Thousands of acres of once productive farmland are being transformed out of our shrinking supply of agricultural land. This proposal, as you are aware, will have the potential to dry up 5,000 to 6,000 acres of this land that will never be replaced. I would like to leave you with this thought. In my community, there is an elementary school that is one of the last few remaining country schools in the state. It has faced many threats over the last generations, but today is an exceedingly successful school that serves our community. The school sits in the middle of farmland. Up to a few years ago, it was surrounded by highly productive irrigated fields that provided a working classroom for the students. Today, that farmland has had the irrigation water removed and is dried up. The pure snow melt water from the Rocky Mountains that once flowed in open fields of growing produce now is gone. The school gets its water now from a water association that is under restriction because that is the only suitable source. In other words, they must use extraordinary effort to provide safe drinking water for the students. Please look over the horizon to see the long-term negative impacts of what this will do. I thank you for giving me this opportunity, and thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you. Councilmember Donaldson.
Okay, thanks, Mr. President. First, I want to thank Mike Rubinson, Doug Quimby, and the other guys at La Plata. They've always been very, I believe, honest with me, straightforward, and professionmal. Second, I wanted to thank the men who came up here from the Arkansas River Valley, but I think Jack Goebel just left. But I did appreciate them being here and giving us kind of firsthand insight into how they feel in the River Valley. And we had a couple local ranchers / farmers who came and spoke to us today. There are reasonable arguments in favor of the Amara annexation. However, today, I do not believe the citizens of Colorado Springs support it.
I see that I think I have a motion to accept from Councilmember Talarico. Is that correct?
Yes.
And a second from Councilmember Lineweber. If there's no further discussion, let's vote.
And just for a reminder that this is on 11A, and so these go through 11X. So you have to vote on each one, just as a reminder to everyone.
Let's vote.
And the motion fails on a 4 to 5 vote.
Okay.
The developer behind the planned Amara development east of Fountain told us today it does not have plans to try to move forward with that project. Last night, City Council decided not to annex the 3,200 acres of land into the city. So that meant the developer would have to go back to square one and reevaluate their development plan. The 3,200 acres of land is east of Fountain, southeast of Colorado Springs. It would have added around 9,500 additional housing units into the city. City Council originally voted to approve it on July 23rd. City Council member Dave Donaldson cast the deciding vote when he changed his vote from a yes to a no. News 5 wanted to know why Donaldson changed his opinion about Amara. We sent News 5's Lindsay Jensen to get answers.
Councilmember Dave Donaldson tells me it came down to what he heard during public comment. He says he believes voting against this development is what the people of the city wanted.
And the motion fails on a 4 to 5 vote.
Donaldson told me he initially wanted the Amara development to pass because it would provide more housing options in the area.
During the public comment, I was struck by the farmers and ranchers that came up from the lower Arkansas Valley. And their presentation to us, or really just them speaking about their situation in the valley, I take it seriously.
Testimony by farmers and ranchers, as well as others who express concern.